Looking for financial insights you can trust?
How do you protect yourself as an investor? What's the strategy?
I think it's really simple. I think you just want to be diversified in your portfolio.
The Payne family brings real-world experience to every conversation.
Well, I think that's the problem right now is, right, a lot of people that are close to retirement, they're taking so much risks. And if we do get a big sell-off, it could derail their retirement.
Listen to the Pain Points of Wealth on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Introducing Meta Ray-Ban Display, the world's most advanced AI glasses. With a full color display built into the lens of the glasses, it's there when you need it and gone when you don't. Send and receive messages, translate or caption live conversations, collaborate with Meta AI, and more. Be one of the first to try Meta Ray-Ban Display. Visit meta.com/Meta Ray-Ban Display to book a demo and find your pair.
His name is Joe Concha. He never claims to be a psychic or a fortune teller. You've heard of the amazing Kreskin. Now, here's the amazing Concha.
Hello, everybody. Happy Sunday. I can't believe what I am hearing from... Actually, I can at this point. Why am I surprised by this stuff? Oh, so we know what happened this week. The big story is that Pete Hegseth, my former colleague, current friend, current Secretary of War, he's on the way out. There's just too much pressure. The walls are closing in. The noose is tightening because, according to the Washington Post a couple days ago, when Hegseth ordered a strike on a narco-terrorist boat in the Caribbean, and the first strike killed almost everybody, and then there appeared to be some survivors. The Post, based on, again, here we go again, 2 unnamed anonymous sources telling them that Hegseth said, kill everybody, kill them all, and ordered a second strike, which killed 2 people in the water who were out of the fight. Now, the reason why that's significant, because according to the Geneva Convention, if you strike somebody who's out of the game, either they're wounded or they're not able to fight back, you can't just order their execution. Fine. We could argue the merits of that, but that apparently was going to be the end of Pete Hegseth. The problem is, and the irony is, and it's so rich, the New York Times and ABC News, of all places, put out their reports based on actual sources. In the New York Times case, it was not 2 unnamed sources. It was 5 officials from the Pentagon who told them that no, nothing like that ever happened with Hegseth ordering a second strike just to kill off the remaining survivors. ABC News also did their own reporting on this. And hey, I bash the media a lot, and boy, they deserve it. But in this case, excellent job here, because they finally put out what was the actual story based on confirmation from a JAG officer who was obviously a lawyer who was working with Hegseth and other admirals at the time. This is cut 6. Go.
And tonight, new information. According to a source familiar with the incident, the 2 survivors climbed back onto the boat after the initial strike. They were believed to be potentially in communication with others and salvaging some of the drugs. Because of that, it was determined they were still in the fight and valid targets. A JAG officer was also giving legal advice. So again, David, that video will be key, and Admiral Bradley will be on the Hill tomorrow behind closed doors.
And there you go. So no apology, of course, from the Washington Post. And we still have Democratic lawmakers who are now defending those on these narco boats, basically talking about the hierarchy of the way drug cartels work, I guess, where they're saying that, well, the people who actually are the kingpins aren't on the boats. They have other people on the boats who aren't quite that high in the food chain. Therefore, I guess they're just kind of innocent people, like they're shipwrecked survivors. It's Gilligan, the skipper, the professor, Marianne, Ginger, and the Howells, Lovey. It's really just innocent people that we're blowing up. No, it's not actually. Anyway, this is cut number 12. Go.
What I saw in that room was one of the most troubling things I've seen in my time in public service. The United States military attacking shipwrecked sailors. Bad guys. But attacking shipwrecked sailors. Yes, they were carrying drugs. They were not in the position to continue their mission. The last thing I'm going to say is that the Admiral confirmed that there had not been a kill them all order and that there was not an order to grant no quarter.
So does it exonerate headset?
I mean, I can't. Yes, they were bad guys, and yes, they are carrying drugs. What more do you need? Jim Himes, Representative, Connecticut. I cannot believe this stuff. You know, they're bad guys, are carrying drugs, but let them go on with their, what he called, mission. Yeah, mission. It's killing Americans. Fentanyl, 100,000 people per year. And you're somehow talking about the rights of these people who are murdering Americans, who bring in this stuff to our country? It's an absolute joke. But it didn't end there. Here's Senator Jack Reed. We're still in the Northeast. Go figure. He's from Rhode Island. And actually, he's talking about how, you know, the real narco traffickers are not on these boats. Cut 9. Go.
You know, one of the factors that drives youth in the United States and is demand. And most narco traffickers are not in those boats. They pay people to do that. And usually people are not significantly involved with narco trading. It's the way they make money.
Oh, okay. So it's like when I order DoorDash or Uber Eats, right? And then the Uber driver, instead of carrying me food from a restaurant, is actually carrying drugs to my home. Therefore, that makes them innocent because they're not involved so much with the drugs getting on the boat. They're only delivering them. I'm sorry. Anybody who brings drugs to this country, I don't care where you are on the food chain of drug cartels, your boat deserves to get blown up. This is narco terrorism that is killing Americans. More people have died from fentanyl than ever died in Vietnam or any other modern war. It's got to stop. The Trump administration is doing something about it. Democrats have a big problem with it because reflexively they will oppose anything Trump does. If Trump put out an executive order tomorrow banning pineapple on pizza, Democrats would say, nope, it's awesome. We love it. It's not. It's like being for cancer. I get it, but I don't get it. It's insane. Anyway, this is Joe Concha. This is the Tunnel to Towers Foundation Sunday morning show. Back with more, including the 45th and 47th President of the United States. Ha ha! Surprise! Stick around.
It's the Joe Concha Tunnel to Towers Foundation Sunday morning show.
There it is. Now, why am I playing this particular music? Hail to the Chief. Everybody listening out there, the millions in New York City and around the world. It's because I get the best guests. I tell you I do. And so now, without any further ado, let us bring in the 45th and 47th President of the United States, Donald Trump. Mr. Trump, thank you for being here. And I just want to congratulate you on a tremendous year. Lots of wins, but your biggest win yet appears to be over hurricanes. Tell us more about it.
Well, thank you, Joe. You know, you're a great guy. There's a lot of people named Joe who aren't very great. You know, you have a sleepy former president who is not very great. He was a nasty person, believe it or not, and he had a lot of problems. But we had a beautiful win. You know, we renamed the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America and had 0 hurricanes enter the Gulf. And it's called the Order of the Deal. You know, I got along very well with somebody. You may have heard of her before. Her name is Mother Nature. She's a tremendous person, and we get along very well. You know, we have a long relationship. And she said to me at the beginning of the year, she said, "Sir, there's going to be about 3 to 5 major hurricanes coming to the United States." I said, "If you do that, we're going to hit you with tariffs, the likes of which nobody's ever seen before, right?"
Wow, yeah.
And she came back and she said, "Sir, we're not going to do it. We're going to keep the hurricanes away." And so we had no hurricanes. We had a lot. They call it wind shear. You look at it, it rips up the storm like the Somalians are ripping up Minnesota. So you have a lot that's going on, and we took care of it, but there were no hurricanes, and we're very happy about it.
You know, it's amazing what's going on in Minnesota, sir, as far as just the leadership they have there, right? There's the goofy 80s sitcom dad, Tim Walz, as its governor. You have Ilhan Omar represents a district in that state. Ilhan, boy, she has quite the taste in men. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, she's a nasty person, and, it looks like she married her brother. A lot of people are talking about it. She married her brother, which is a raw deal for the brother. If you look at it, having to be married to that's a raw deal. It's like Letitia James. She said she was married to her father on the mortgage application.
That's true.
It's a raw deal for the father. And you look at Letitia James, she's a really nasty person, and you could ask yourself, is she married? She's not married, and nobody has to figure out why that is. You look at it, nobody wants to be around that. But same with Ilhan. You look at Ilhan. She was married to the brother. It's a raw deal for the brother. I have to have a chat with the brother and say, you got to make better deals for yourself. You went and you married her, if that's what happened, and terrible mistake. And he knows about it. He knows it's a terrible mistake.
This is true. And we're talking to Sean Farish. I can't go on anymore, folks. It's so good. I'm willing to bet that 84% of you out there actually thought that we did have President Trump on. That's how great this imitation is. As you know, I've interviewed the real president before for my book and went to Mar-a-Lago and New Year's Eve and all that fun stuff. So it's not out of the realm of possibility that I could get Trump on the show, and I'm sure I will at some point. But Sean, I mean, things are really taking off for you. Obviously, the president retweeting out your stuff always helps. When did you know that you could do this imitation?
I figured it out when I was selling the DirecTV packages to customers, and they would ask if they were going to be able to keep Fox News.
Really?
And I would just break it out and say, I would never take that away. We'd never make you watch the fake news. We'd never let that happen. We're not going to let it happen. And they started laughing, and it was great. And I used it, I worked it in when I used to sell paint. Obviously, a lot of my contractors were blue-collar guys. They loved Trump. They thought it was hilarious, and then got a whole grassroots movement started on Long Island. We had these massive Trump convoys, and a friend of mine told me to do it on TikTok. So I went on. I get along very well with China, so I went on TikTok and did it, and that became how people saw it and found it, and now it's all over the place on X, and they got members of the Trump family who are enjoying the content, so it's always fun.
Absolutely. And you said a Trump-ism there before. Certain words that he says slightly different than he does, than normally typical people use it. So I say China, you say China, but he says China. He really gets high on that Y in China.
Yeah, he spells it with a Y. It's great. It's China, right? You have to do that. Sometimes I'll be in front of a room and I'll be trying to work the crowd a little bit, and I'll say it, and then I'll go, okay, now you guys got to say it, and the whole room says China. It's great. I did that once to a scam caller. Actually, they called trying to scam me into Comcast or something, and I said, "Do your boxes come from China?" And he said, "No, they don't." He said, "No, they don't come from." And I said, "Say it, China," and he goes, China. And he was really working hard to get to scam, because it wasn't really Comcast, or if they would have hung up. But this guy was really working hard to scam me out of something. And I worked with him for a minute, and then, he hung up when he found out that I wasn't going to give him my social security number or something.
Well done. I remember a Simpsons episode from way back when. I'm going to completely date myself on this. But there was a character who was supposed to be Teddy Kennedy, and he kept asking the waiter to say chowder correctly. And he'd say chowder, and that was like a whole thing with my friends, like growing up, say chowder over and over. But I'm curious, Sean, you do Trump so well, which means your vocal cords probably can adapt and do other imitations, right? Like Rich Little, the great Rich Little did Reagan, but he would also do Johnny Carson. He did several great imitations. And you see that with imitators, that if they could do one person, they could probably do several. So is there any other imitations in your bag that we should know about?
I dabble in Bernie Sanders. It's not ready for a full launch yet, but I dabble in Bernie Sanders. So the whole thing is, I get that question a lot, and I've always been, it may be hard to believe, but growing up, I was a class clown. I went to school for radio, the whole thing, and entertaining. And people were like, "Oh, class clown, really? I never would have saw that coming." But I did a lot of people's voices in my radio classes and whatnot. This is before he took his own life, obviously, but they nicknamed me Robin Williams in some of my radio classes. I was doing people's voices and dialects and what. So I dabble in Bernie, and that's really where it's at. But the way I look at it is I can imitate the most well-known person in the world. Like, there's no question what I'm doing when I'm doing it. To the point where I've done that in like drive-thrus of McDonald's, and people are like, "This sounds like Trump." So it's a lot of fun. And right now, Trump is the one I focus on because he's obviously the most well-known guy. I could say I dabble in Bernie. That's the answer.
Interesting. And we're talking to Sean Farish. Has Fox given you any love as far as having you on, say, Gutfeld, for example? Because I think you'd be perfect for that show.
No, I have yet to hear from them. Jesse Waters, I believe, played the sombrero clip because the president reposted it, which is silly, very surreal. But I've yet to hear from anybody from Fox. So obviously, phone lines are always open, and I'd love to. Gutfeld's a great show. He's got some amazing talent that comes on that show all the time, and I think it would be a lot of fun.
All right. I will mention it to Greg and every other show that is there. No question. So tell us about yourself, right? You lived on Long Island, and then you were smart enough to get out, just like my friend Pete Hegseth, that lived in New Jersey here for a while. Then he went down to Nashville, Tennessee. Tommy Lahren is in Nashville, Tennessee. Clay Travis is in Nashville, Tennessee. It seems to be the hot city these days. But you just recently had an election with Afton Ben, who said she hated country music and hated the city in general, and actually made it a much closer race than people thought. So what's going down in Nashville?
Well, in Tennessee, so we moved to Nashville. We live in Murfreesboro now. It's about 45 minutes southeast. My compass, my directions of Nashville. But so we're not in Tennessee 7, but we were close enough to know what was going on there. And look, special elections are a different animal, right? They're always unpredictable. You saw the two special elections in Florida this year with Matt Gaetz' open seat, Mike Waltz's open seat. Those were 30-point districts. In 2024, they wound up being 15-point races in those special elections, so the margin was cut in half. Special elections all about turnout. Republicans, when Trump isn't on the ballot, have a turnout problem. There's no doubt about that, right? So we got to overcome that issue. Afton Bain, she was a lunatic. She still is a lunatic. And said that she hates the city that she was running to represent, and by the way, currently represents, and it didn't matter, which proves to me that that's not what people care about, especially on the Democrat side. So if there are three things that we could take from it going into the midterms, I would say Republicans have a messaging problem, an apathy problem, and I think there's a reluctance to playing to win the game. To quote the great, I say great with air quotes, I am a Jets fan, Herman Edwards, you play to win the game. Unfortunately, a lot of Republicans now, I feel like, are playing not to lose. You'll never win playing that way. We got to get a little tougher and motivate the base a little more. But in Tennessee, it was a 9-point race when all was said and done. Certainly not the nail-biter that was forecast, but definitely closer than it should have been.
I completely agree with that, and it makes you wonder, Sean, is the Trump magic transferable to the party? And it seems every situation, it seems like it kind of isn't, and the GOP has to get its messaging together. So unfortunately, we only have a minute left. We're going to play out now a great song that you did on blowing up the narco-terrorists in the water. I saw this on Twitter right before we came out. I'm like, oh boy, we got to add this. So Sean, I will thank you on the way out, and thank you to your alter ego, Mr. President. I appreciate it, and we'll talk again soon.
Thanks, Joe. Appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, Sean. All right. Let's play it, guys. This is too good.
Just sit right back and you'll hear a tale of a fateful trip that started on the Venezuelan coast aboard this narco ship. The fake news said they were fishermen, but they were Trinidad thugs heading to the United States with a boat full of drugs. A boat full of drugs. Bad hombres decided to F around, so we blew them out of the water. We unleashed our secret weapon, and we dropped Katie Porter.
Oh.
We dropped Katie Porter.
That is so tremendous.
The narco boats were annihilated. Now the fish are high as hell. They got a free meal when the USA chummed the water with the cartels. And I got to look very well, by the way, with Davy Jones. You may have heard of him, Davy Jones. And he has a locker. And anybody who tries to sail drugs into our country, they're getting a one-way trip to Davy Jones' locker.
Wow.
That much I can tell you. Thank you for your attention to this matter.
Nothing to add there, guys. He's the best. Sean Farish. I am Joe Concha. Back with more in just a moment.
It's the Joe Concha Tunnel to Towers Foundation Sunday Morning Show.
Welcome back, everybody. All right, let's bring in our very special guest. He is Larry O'Connor. He is the host of Mornings on the Mall on WMAL in Washington, D.C., my former haunt. Larry, how are you?
Joe, I'm good, and I appreciate you calling me a special guest because you do that. Whenever we're together, you always make me feel special.
Oh, that's great. They used to have, like in the 90s, like an NBC, it was always a very special episode of, every episode was a very special episode. Yes. Too funny.
Of Blossom, Joey's coming of age.
Blossom, thank you. Yes, that's what I was going for. I can remember the show. Anyway, so Tim Walz, I think when we look back years from now, we're just going
to... So Tim Walz. Let's talk about him.
Let's talk about him. Nearly a couple of swing states away from being a heartbeat from the presidency. And he was only chosen by Kamala Harris because Josh Shapiro was too darn Jewish and Pete Buttigieg was too darn gay. So
yes.
Walz, through social media, started calling J.D. Vance weird, and the media loved that for some reason, thought it was like the greatest thing ever. That got Team Kamala's attention, and then her one big decision she had to make during that campaign was who's going to be my number two, and she chose the goofy 80s sitcom dad, to go back to sitcoms for a moment, in Tim Walz. And this guy has said like the most bizarre stuff where, for instance, he said he was in Hong Kong during the Tiananmen Square massacre when he was back in Nebraska. Or he said that he was this great football coach, like he's the next, Joe Gibbs. And it turns out he was only an assistant because he was doing 97 miles an hour in his 30s and got a DUI for it and then wasn't allowed to be a head coach, had to be a volunteer. He lied about his military service, said he carried weapons of war when he actually ditched his unit to go back to Minnesota once they were deployed to Iraq. I mean, I could go on and on with the things that he has said, but the best is that he puts himself up in a high moral plane. So we're going to play this clip for you. This is Cut 7, Elias, and it's going to talk about how he's talking about how we have to really up our civility and discourse, and then we're going to hear all the things he said about Donald Trump over the last year. This is Cut 7. Go.
Done. He's normalized this type of hateful behavior and this type of language.
Well, maybe it's time for us to be a little meaner. When it's adult like Donald Trump, you bully the out of him back.
What we should demonize is people like Elon Musk. Although I will say this, the last few days you woke up thinking there might be news. Just saying. There will be news sometime. Just so you know, there will be news.
Just so you know, for the audience at home, the last soundbite was Walz openly hoping to read news that Donald Trump was dead. I'll give you the floor, Larry.
Yes. What a guy. Thank you. And that's what we call a professional tee-up, Joe.
Thank you.
That whole litany of things that you listed about Tim Walz's career and his track record, his background, his time as governor, and what have you, the Kamala Harris campaign knew about all of that. And they were fine with picking him, partly because of the arrogance that goes along with being a leading Democrat candidate, because they know the media won't really ask any tough questions. They won't do their job of vetting. And, oh, by the way, let's add to all of that the fact that we've now learned that on Tim Walz's watch, the largest single fraudulent government scandal involving their health services and education policies and the slush funds of tax dollars during the pandemic was built to the tune of multiple billions of dollars. And it appears at best he was incompetent, and at worst he actually participated in all of it. And none of this came out during the campaign. The guy is an absolute disaster, but you locked in on the most important part. As bad as Tim Walz is, Kamala Harris still looked at her choices and said, oh, yeah, this is my guy. It will never not be funny that Kamala Harris felt that Tim Walz was the better choice than Mark Kelly. How humiliating must it be for Mark Kelly to go to bed every night knowing that?
That's a great point, and maybe that's why Kelly wants to be president now, because he felt he definitely got passed over. Certainly would have been a better choice. I wonder if the Biden DOJ knew about all this, because this isn't something new, this whole scandal, as far as $1.7 billion is the number that's bigger than the entire economy of Somalia, where the money went to a terror group out of Minnesota. Yes. This was supposed to be food for hungry children, where that money was allocated to, and autism centers that never actually opened, and instead this was all funneled out. They have a mayor there, Jacob Frey, I'm not quite sure how you pronounce his last name, doesn't matter, and he is petrified of the Somalian community. In other words, he knows that is a huge voting bloc now in his city. You might as well call Minnesota, Mogadishu at this point, because that's basically what it's become. But here's Jacob Fry. After these allegations came out saying, we got your back, no one's going to demonize you over this, Somalians. This is cut 10, and it is awesome. Go.
To our Somali community. Daman Shabka.
What?
Somaliyed Kunul. Minnesota Garahan, Minneapolis. Waan Kuji Janila Hai. Waan Ku Gereb Taganahan.
Oh, my God. Wow, that's like listening to like a 12-year-old trying to read Hebrew for the first time, Larry.
Yeah, I don't know if he went right to left. I don't know if Hebrew is the appropriate comparison here for that nation's native language. I love that. It's charming that you were trying to figure out how to pronounce his name, Fry or Frey. The question is, how do you pronounce it in Somali?
That's right.
That's all that matters, apparently.
Unbelievable.
The pandering, God, the pandering that went on here, and it was really, truly an embarrassment. But let's face it, he just narrowly won re-election to a Somali national who was running to the left of him, like a Zoran Mamdani type there in Minneapolis. So, I mean, he's got to butter the bread on the right side, I suppose. And in this case, that's with Somali butter.
I mean, between New York, Minneapolis, and Seattle, I don't know like who has the worst mayor. I guess Chicago does with Brandon Johnson at 6% approval. But here's Seattle Mayor Bruce Harrell talking about how he doesn't want to put criminals in jail because we just don't know their life story. I'm serious about this. This is cut number 4. Go.
So when this person is committing 6 or 7 crimes, I don't know his or her story.
6 or 7?
Maybe they were abused as a child. Maybe they're hungry. So my remedy is to find their life story to see how we could help first. I have no desire to put them in jail, but I need to protect you.
After 6 or 7 crimes, you're not getting the message that maybe this person shouldn't be on the streets, Larry? I mean, these are NFL cities we're talking about.
Yeah, and listen, with a hat tip to J.D. Vance, the mayor may be right that this person was abused as a child, and that's why they've committed 6 or 7 crimes. And the only response is, I don't really care, Margaret. It doesn't matter. I don't care why they became criminals at this point, because the fact is they are criminals. They've broken the law, and if you don't punish them and put them away to keep them out of the general population, they will continue to commit crimes, and that's how we have these repeat offenders, because you know what? When you have a repeat offender, it means you have repeated victims, Joe, and the mayor is supposed to be looking out for and protecting the victims, not the criminals. But this is where the Democrat Party is right now. It's just like the Venezuelan boat story. I mean, they're so intense on being touchy-feely about the victims here of the missile attack in Venezuela, that they end up defending narco-terrorists. And there's a direct line between the national security policies of Democrats in D.C. all the way over to this idiotic mayor in Seattle. And if this is what the next election is going to be about, I'm feeling pretty good right now.
Seriously. And we're talking to Larry O'Connor. He is the host of Mornings on the Mall, WMAL, Washington, D.C. Yeah, that's the thing here. Donald Trump is a magician. He somehow has now made Democrats defend men playing against women in sports, defend Kilmar Abrego Garcia, the Maryland man, not far from you, who actually was, I don't know, MS-13 and beat his wife and was a human trafficker. They're going to go defend him, even go visit him down in Central South America, like Chris Von Hollen, the senator of Maryland, did, and now here, obviously, defending narco-terrorists. It's unbelievable. Yeah. And they listen to people like Sam Harris. Now, who's Sam Harris? This guy has a podcast. Pretty rich guy, huge Democrat. Here he is in cut 13 talking about how, he'd rather just have a bunch of unelected people running the country with a president who's in a coma than actually a freely elected, duly elected president. This is cut 13. Go.
I would rather have a president in a coma where the duties of the presidency are executed by a committee of just normal people.
I mean, so, all right, we don't know who these people are, right? Just like we didn't with Joe Biden and the auto pen. I mean, who was running the country? Was it Anita Dunn? Yeah. Was it Ron Klain? Was it Karine Jean-Pierre and Hunter Biden, which is a scary, scary thought? And that's what he'd rather have over Trump because of that derangement syndrome. I mean, that's how many on the left feel, Larry.
Yeah, no, but at the same time, I got to say, to be honest, if my choice is, Zoran Mamdani, Bernie Sanders, or Gavin Newsom, and a President Trump in a coma with Trump's cabinet and Trump's team, who are you choosing? I know who I'm choosing. I guess it's some sort of academic exercise here. What's better? But the fact of the matter is they did have a president in a coma. His name was Joe Biden, and we saw how that worked out. Ultimately, these elections, yes, are about the individuals and their fitness to serve. But beyond that, it is about the ideas. It's about the team. It's about the cabinet they put together. Joe Biden had Merrick Garland, Kamala Harris, Alejandro Mayorkas, and Lloyd Austin. And we've got Pam Bondi. We've got Pete Hegseth. We've got J.D. Vance. And we've got Tom Homan and Kristi Noem. I know what side I want to be on, and I think the American people are too.
Yeah, and Scott Bessent, who continues to just completely and totally impress. Yeah, he's an MVP along with Marco Rubio. That I do know. Anyway, they're telling me that we're out of time, Larry, so I appreciate you joining us on a weekend. And get some rest.
Break. Come on.
I heard you had a very taxing vacation, so go take a vacation from your vacation. And
I need a break from my vacation.
There you go. Well,
thanks, Joe.
All right, man. Talk to you soon. That was Larry O'Connor. Great guest. And this is Joe Concha. This is the Tunnel to Towers Foundation Sunday morning show. Back with more. We'll wrap this puppy up in just a moment.
It's the Joe Concha Tunnel to Towers Foundation Sunday morning show.
Buddy, all right, let's get right to our fun sound bites of the week. Boy, we have so many to choose from. Where to begin? Don Lemon, as my old friend Tucker used to call him when he was at Fox. Probably one of the worst people on the planet. I'm not putting him up there with like a Putin or Kim Jong-un or, your average Houthi. But at the same time, as far as journalism, if you want to call Don a journalist, and that's what he calls himself, this is some pretty screwed up stuff that he said on his podcast recently. Here he is telling his listeners, all tens of them, to go out, get a gun, and take up arms against ICE officers and federal troops. Really. And he's telling this to people who are here illegally, who are being deported rightly and legally. I can't believe, well, I guess I can believe it. It's Don Lemon. Cut one. Go.
Black people, brown people of all stripes, whether you're an Indian American or a Mexican American or whoever you are, go out in your place where you live and get a gun legally, get a license to carry legally. Because when you have people knocking on your door and taking you away without due process as a citizen, isn't that what the Second Amendment was written for?
Oh, man. As a citizen? They're here illegally, you dunce. What, Mexican Americans, Indian Americans. People who are in the country legally are not being deported. Only those in the country illegally, including violent criminals, are. And this schmuck is going out there telling people to go buy guns? ICE officers, the attacks on them is something like, it's up 1,100% this year alone. They have been shot at. They have been wounded. They have been injured. And this guy, this maniac, is on his podcast. And I know not a lot of people watch or listen, but these clips tend to go viral for all the wrong reasons. All it takes is one person to say, nope, you're right. We saw it with the National Guardsmen that were shot in Washington, including Sarah Beckstrom, 20-year-old girl who was working over the Thanksgiving weekend because she wanted to allow other people time off who had families and kids, and she lost her life. And it's because of the rhetoric from Don Lemon, who managed to get fired from CNN, which is really hard to do. I mean, Jeffrey Toobin literally was pleasuring himself on a Zoom call in front of female coworkers and still didn't get fired over that. It's impossible to get fired from CNN. Lemon managed to. It's because he says insane stuff like that. Speaking of insane, if Don Lemon had a sister, that person probably would be Jasmine Crockett, because every day she is the face of the Democratic Party. And I saw a poll out just yesterday. She is the front runner to be the Democratic nominee, the Democratic candidate against either John Cornyn or Ken Paxton for a Senate seat in Texas. Please, if you're Cornyn or Paxton or Wesley Hunt also is in that race on the Republican side, you want her on that ticket. You need her on that ticket because you'll win by 15, 20 points because she says stuff like this. This is cut two. Go.
I just want to be clear. This is the party that says that, they care so much about life until life actually shows up at their front door. And this is also the party that supposedly is about Christianity. And I just imagine what they would have done to a little baby Jesus. But that's a whole other issue.
Wait, what? What they would have done to a baby Jesus? Would have done nothing to baby Jesus. Baby Jesus did nothing wrong. He didn't illegally enter another country. He didn't break the law. He's baby Jesus. He's Jesus in general. What they would have done to baby Jesus. I don't even know what that means. Oh, my hair hurts. All right. Well, speaking of playing the race card, here's Senator Mark Kelly. Speaking of polls, he has now jumped to be one of the front runners for the Democratic nomination. It goes Gavin Newsom, Pete Buttigieg, and now Mark Kelly. He now has jumped over Tim Walz and Kamala Harris. Not hard to do exactly, but at the same time, here he is playing the race card. Again, this is after President Trump decided that we are going to halt all immigration from third world countries because obviously the vetting process that happened with Afghanistan and all the people, thousands upon thousands that came to this country, even though Jen Psaki, the white press secretary at the time, said, oh, yeah, they're fully vetted. Oh, we've completely done that. When we knew, obviously, that couldn't be the case. It would be physically impossible to vet all those people who came in so quickly. And then, sure enough, one of them took the life of Sarah Beckstrom, National Guards woman in Washington, D.C., severely wounding another staff sergeant as well. So Trump's doing the right thing. He said, we got to reset this thing, and we got to get our vetting process right. And we got to make sure that all these people coming from countries that literally hate us, we can't just let them in here freely because they may want to do harm, and they have. But here's Mark Kelly in cut 3 saying, no, Trump's reasoning here is much more sinister. Cut 3, go.
When I heard the secretary say that they're going to pause immigration from third world countries, I mean, I take that as a message that they don't want brown people coming to the United States. And I find that disturbing.
Yep, that's the playbook. By the way, Mark Kelly, senator from Arizona, for years allowed millions of people to come across his border into the country, including those on the FBI terror watch list, and didn't do a damn thing about it. So I don't want to hear from this guy when it comes to anything, when it comes to immigration. Nevertheless, he very well could be the nominee for president as far as the Democrats are concerned. Meanwhile, great job by Kash Patel and Dan Bongino over at the FBI, finally catching the January 6th pipe bomber. This has gone on, obviously, for nearly, what now? That was 2021. 5 years. This person has been on the run. The Biden administration did nothing about it as far as their DOJ, their FBI, Chris Wray. And instead, we finally got the guy, and we're going to learn a lot more about him and his motivations. But here is Senator Mark Warner of Virginia, we're keeping it here on the East Coast, saying, hey, what took so long, without realizing that Democrats were in power for 4 years after the pipe bomber tried to detonate those bombs. This is cut 11. Go.
It's a little rich that they're saying they're American saver. How much earlier could we have caught this guy if resources hadn't been diverted? And I hope it would also remind folks that on January 6th, I was here at the Capitol on January 6th. It was an ugly, awful day. And this administration and this president basically pardoned all the perpetrators. You know, it's that kind of picking and choosing of facts from this crowd that makes me a little bit crazy.
What makes me crazy is the fact that he's talking about what took us so long to catch the pipe bomber. Again, Biden, Chris Wray, his DOJ, Merrick Garland did nothing to find this person. And you have to wonder, was that intentional? Anyway, this is Joe Concha. This is the Tunnel to Towers Foundation Sunday morning show. Thanks so much for tuning in today. Thanks so much to Mr. President. Okay, it was Sean Farish, the best Trump imitator ever. Trump actually retweets his stuff out. It's that good. So he was a great guest, as was Larry O'Connor, my friend from Washington, D.C. We'll be back next Sunday, 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Until then, this is Joe Concha saying bye-bye.
Thanks for listening. The Joe Concha Tunnel to Towers Foundation Sunday Morning Show. You can hear the Joe Concha Tunnel to Towers Foundation Sunday Morning Show. Sunday mornings at 10. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?
Looking for financial insights you can trust?
How do you protect yourself as an investor? What's the strategy?
I think it's really simple. I think you just want to be diversified in your portfolio.
The Payne family brings real-world experience to every conversation.
Well, I think that's the problem right now is, right, a lot of people that are close to retirement, they're taking so much risks. And if we do get a big sell-off, it could derail their retirement.
Listen to the Pain Points of Wealth on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Hey, Ryan Reynolds here for Mint Mobile. You know, one of the perks about having 4 kids that you know about is actually getting a direct line to the big man up north. Mm-hmm. And this year, he wants you to know the best gift that you can give someone is the gift of Mint Mobile's unlimited wireless for $15 a month. Now, you don't even need to wrap it. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan equivalent to $15 per month required. New customer offer for first 3 months only. Speed slow after 35 gigabytes if network's busy. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.